margin of error is really low. So yeah, I think everyone loves Homestead. Yeah, so I think you could categorize it as like a driver's place.
You kind of mentioned it. Is it one of your favorites? Like it's like if you had to tier them, you would be probably.
It's one of the most fun places we go to. You know, anywhere you're kind of sliding the car around, because not a lot of places we go, especially with this car. Like it's not really much side force on it, so you can't like slide it as much. You bust your tail. So Homestead, you can kind of get away with that stuff. Just the surface is old and stuff like that. It's fairly smooth. So. Yeah, it's definitely up there with the one. I'm happy. I'm glad it happened so early in the year, right? Because you can get there. Whether it's going to be at the very end of the year next year, we don't know. It's up in the air. But yeah, it's nice that we're going there, you know, early here in the spring. So it's one of my favorites. Yeah.
What changed for you going from, you know, like an average finish there outside of the top 20 to going, you know, third place, second place, and then obviously the anomaly with 22?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those places I kind of categorize it as like a Martinsville, where I kind of struggled early there in everything, and worked really hard to try to figure out, okay, how do I need to be good, and watched a lot of other guys, you know, do some really cool things around there. It's like, all right, well, how do I learn how to do that? I feel like one of the hardest things to do as an adult is like learn something new. And you have to put a lot of time into it. So I did, and my group did, and then it just kind of clicked. So like, okay, I feel like now I kind of know how to run decent here. You know, had a good shot to win it the last couple of years, and just didn't do a good job winning it. But yeah, just working on things that try to change about yourself and change with what you want the car to do that kind of fits you and fit what the car needs at that track. And it's pretty nice when things kind of click when you work at it like that. So hopefully we can do that at some other places where I struggle too. Yeah.
And then as far as, you know, some guys take the low line, some guys run the high line. I mean, where do you kind of fall? Because I know last year did a little bit of both.
Yeah, you can kind of pick and choose. You know, I feel like the top gets dominant late in a run, and the guys who can do it correctly kind of shine, right? Like Larson, Tyler Reddick, those guys are kind of the standouts to me who can do it efficiently. Like there's one thing about, oh yeah, I'm going to go run the fence, but you can be half a second off running the fence. Those guys, you know, they are doing it and doing it with a lot of speed. But then you have some of, you know, they kind of can commit to the bottom and find pace down there. So it's really just whatever your car is doing right, what you're more comfortable with. I try to do both because it's great if you can make speed at the fence, but you can't pass anybody. Everyone's running the fence. So it's like, how do you get your car to do a decent job kind of off the fence, whether it's in the middle, the top, the very bottom. I feel like I've always tried to look for that at that place, just to be okay on all three, and that makes me pretty versatile. But yeah, I think that place is just getting to such a cool spot of the top isn't as dominant as it used to be. Now you can see guys running the bottom. Like I think Austin Hill won that Xfinity race like glued to the bottom last year. And I was able to make the bottom work really well there in the fall last year. So it's getting to a point of like you overrun the top, you get it worn out, and now like the bottom's coming back, which is it's kind of a cool thing. Yeah.
Ryan, how big is like a test like this? I mean, obviously you guys have all types of data and so forth. So, I mean, how much does this really impact you know, your team as far as being prepared for Charlotte again in a couple of months?
It definitely helps. Honestly, for me, like I like making laps. You know, we don't get to do this stuff anymore. You're lucky if you get one test a year. Like this is my one test that I get this year. So, you know, we're running through a bunch of tires, but there's also some things that were a good year that's like, all right, here's the control tire. You have a little bit of time to kind of work on what you guys want to work on, and we can build some data. And for me, it's just, you know, it does get repetitive, right? When you're like running the same tire over and over, but your changes are, you're focused on your changes. But I just like making laps because I don't race outside of the sport of NASCAR. I don't do anything other than cup racing nowadays. So it's nice for me just to run, you know, and be around the guys and go through changes that we're not really able to do on the weekends anymore. Like how does that affect us? So, and they're important. I mean, you can't overlook these just because you get so little of them.
It's got to be good though when you do get tabbed for a test. It happens to be for one of the marquee, a track with a marquee event coming up.
Yeah,
too. You know,
yes.
and it's in your backyard.
Yeah, the crown jewel. I woke up this morning and drove here, so it was nice. Sleep in your own bed and do it tonight and come back tomorrow. And, but yeah, for such a big race, you know, that's coming up here in a couple months, it's really important. So yeah, it's always nice when you can lock this one in. I definitely wanted this one. I had the option of a couple, and I chose this one for, you know, really the big reason of 1.5 miles. You know, trying to really get that program dialed in, and because it's for the 600, you know, so there was a couple reasons I was able to why I chose this one. Yeah,
Right.
and sleeping in your own bed's nice.
There's a group visited down here from Bristol. We're about a month away from.
Test a little bit today what you guys were trying to work on.
Yeah, I guess, you know, the main purpose was tire test, so just trying to work through a few different sets of tires. I didn't really feel anything on the tires, but I think, you know, it's a good chance for us to learn some stuff as a team, and really, you know, we've been rolling, so just trying to get a couple of small things, sensitivities, and just really trying to dial in our 1.5 mile program a little bit better and know what changes do what, so that when we're at the racetrack we can, you know, make more effective changes and have a little bit closer balance.
Is it possible, William, we've talked so much about soft tires with short tracks. Is it possible to go softer on intermediates?
I don't know. I feel like the tire on the intermediate actually falls off pretty good. Sure, it could fall off more, but you know, we're kind of at the limit of blowing tires or cording tires, and I think honestly the tires at Vegas were going down to the cords if your balance was off, and you know, some guys blew tires as we ran laps. So I feel like the intermediate racing's been really good, and honestly I don't think we need to touch it. Honestly, I think you know, it's really just a weather thing, trying to get, you know, hotter races where it's slicker, but you know, there's plenty of cautions on intermediates right now, and you know, it seems like there's plenty of racing going on, so I think the tire's in a good spot.
So then what were you looking for today in this tire test?
I don't know. I think we got designated this test. So no, for us, I mean, as a team, we're looking to just, you know, learn a couple small things for our setup and things that we can apply to this weekend at Homestead, and then down the road, you know, because there's a couple of really important 1.5 miles in the playoffs. So for us personally, just trying to get a couple of things that we feel like can make us that little bit better.
For the 600 in particular, with the tire last year, what would you hope to see this year given the test today?
Like in what way?
Like in terms of the product that the tire brought to the track last year.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was pretty good last year. So yeah, I think it was a great 600 from what I remember last year. We just, you know, it just got cut short, and so I think, you know, having the full distance this year, hopefully we can start the race on time for once, because I feel like we're always starting at night, and the racing is just more, it's harder to pass at night. So hopefully we can start in the daytime. This place is really slick around 5 o'clock, even just the last couple runs you can tell. So it'd be nice to see us, you know, have a couple stages during the daytime and then transition to night, and have that, you know, see what cars show up at night versus the beginning of the race. I think that's what makes the 600 really cool.
Some of us coming down there from the Bristol area, so
yeah.
Last year obviously extremes there, you know, in the spring race and the summer.
Yeah.
So what are you sort of expecting this year, do you think, at Bristol?
I think it'll be more like the fall. You know, last year was I think this weekend really on the schedule, so it was pretty early, and I think that's why you saw a bit of an anomaly with the tires. But I think you'll see, I would say, normal Bristol. You know, hopefully it's a little bit more passing than we had there in the fall, and we can kind of you know, move around the racetrack. But I think Bristol in the daytime usually is pretty tough, and you know, it should put on a good race.
Byron, you mentioned a little bit about you learned some things about your 1.5 mile program. Mentioned Homestead was this weekend track that you've had some success at. Yeah, how does this test sort of, I guess, either improve or raise the level of your confidence? Because I'm sure you have plenty of it going down there.
Yeah, I think if we didn't have this test, we would just build off of Vegas, and we just go to Homestead and try to, you know, duplicate what we did at Vegas. If not, you know, try to improve a couple things. So the fact that we have this test kind of steps us through the things that we would have done, you know, to go to Homestead, and hopefully that should be an advantage for us. And yeah, I'm sure it'll be an advantage for the 12 and the 19 as well. So we'll just have to use that, and hopefully we're making effective use of our time, and then we can go to, like you said, Homestead and have a really good race. Because I feel like the last, you know, 4 years we've been a top 3 to 4 cars. So we just got to get a little bit better.
Can you describe the differences in the tire that you tested today compared to the tires that were used at Las Vegas last weekend?
Oh, I don't know. I don't feel like there's any difference really. I think the tire, like I said, has been in a pretty good spot, you know, on the 1.5 miles. I mean, we have plenty of, you know, cautions, and we have plenty of really guys, you know, wearing out the tires and either down to the cords or blowing them. So I feel like it's been pretty close, honestly. I'm sure we could go softer, but I don't know really what the basement is there. And yeah, from my standpoint, I think the tire still falls off. You know, you run 10 laps and you fall off 7/8 tenths, so that's a pretty good fall off, you know. So we're just trying to get the short tracks, I think, closer to that.
Where does Homestead rank for you among your favorite tracks?
It's up there. It's my crew chief's favorite for sure. So he loves that place. So he enjoys going there. It's up there for me. I think it's gotten a bit frustrating the last couple of years. Like I feel like I've been close but not good enough, and like I'm always in the top 5 or 6, and I feel like we're always in the mix, but we haven't been the dominant car, so it's been a little bit frustrating the last couple of years. So hopefully this test can kind of get us closer, and you know, it'll be fun. It honestly, I think Homestead will be more fun being in the spring because you can really test the limits of the car and not have to worry so much about outcomes. So you know, with it not being, it's still a points race, still matters, but it's not like that, you know, what semifinal race or second to last race where you have to really focus on points.
Is this the epitome of like a drive? Is Homestead the epitome of like a driver's track?
Yeah, it's well, it takes everything. Like it's a driver's track because there's a lot of technique, but like you have to have a good car and you have to be able to, you know, have a car that is good on the long run and things like that. So yeah, it's a team racetrack. I feel like Darlington's that way as well. It takes the whole team, and it takes the driver's a big part of that.
I want to go back to last week. Can you give me your perspective on pit road when you were beside Bell as he was trying to get over into the other pit stall? I think he said he had his hand out. I don't know if you happened to see that. I know you were beside him for a brief amount, so can you give me your perspective of what you saw in that?
Yeah, I didn't really see much, but I just saw him slowing. Like we were side by side, but I was like nose ahead, so I wasn't able to see him. But yeah, then I just saw him slowing down, and then I had a lane to the right after that. So it's kind of weird because I was like, all right, like I feel like I'm going to be racing him off pit road, and then he starts slowing down, and then when we talked about it under caution, you know, what happened, I was like, that's pretty heads up, like from them to anticipate that, and obviously they've talked about that in the past, so it worked pretty well. I think that was pretty heads up.
Jared Haas with Frontstretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos. And if you like us, make sure to hit that subscribe button.